Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural Fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated Teen for Teen.
Today on CityCast Denver, we're hitting the ground running on 2025 because there are a ton of important stories to catch you up on. We've got our first official candidate for governor in 2026. There's a journalist who was attacked in Grand Junction, and a new face in City Hall who's supposed to help shape the future of downtown. But he's also got a mysterious past. We're going to get into it. Plus, of course, our first wins and fails of the year. Today is Friday, January 3rd. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city that's starting to smell a lot like the stock show. It's Friday. We're at the Westward magazine offices, a little bit different here in 2025. Temporarily. Our host, Bree Davies, is still out, but we'll be back soon. I have a great guest with me today for our first Friday News Roundup of the year. Regular guest, a returning favorite, Westward editor Patty Calhoun. Welcome back.
Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. Are you a resolutions person, Patty?
I make the same resolutions every single year, and I break them within about 3 minutes.
Why? Why do you do this? What are they?
Oh, they're not even all that exciting. They're like to remember to show up to the things I'm supposed to show up to, like so the social events that I'm supposed to show up to. I mean, I make resolutions every morning. Like, I am not going to swear when I'm in the car. I am not going to use this adjective again. So I make them every day.
Yeah, I had one. I made one the day of. I said, this is the year I want to interview Governor Polis. And like I've tried for years, and they always say no. And like he mostly gives interviews to like people who agree with him.
But the secret get interviews, like I want to interview Phil Anschutz.
Oh, Phil Anschutz would be amazing. But yeah, the governor, I made this, and then that night I had a nightmare about sitting across the table from him. And I asked him a question. And in my nightmare, he said, "Do you really think that's relevant, Paul?" So now I don't even know. I feel like he would just chastise me.
I will try to keep this resolution, which is not to allow the words hidden gem to appear on westward.com.
Okay.
In 2025.
That's a good one.
I think that one I can keep.
Is that one of your, I guess that's one of your pet peeves?
It's one of my pet peeves. It's not one of my personal resolutions, but definitely that is one I might have control over.
Well, good luck. I mean, listeners, check out westward.com this year. If you find it, let Patty know. She'll scrub it. We got a little bit of business here, and we got so much news to talk about. Oh my God. I mean, I'm glad we're back because so much happened that I wanted to talk about, and we get to today finally. But a little bit of business first. We're hiring a temporary editor for our newsletter, Hey Denver, soon, because our newsletter editor, Peyton Garcia, who we love, is going on maternity leave in March. So we're looking for someone. Patty, if you know anyone, would love a recommendation.
Is that full-time?
Full-time.
Full-time temporary.
Full-time temporary. So good job. You get to work with us. Fun team. The listing's in the show notes. If you're that person, if you know that person, check it out. I wanted to just talk about a couple of news hits before we get to our top story. One thing, Jimmy Carter passed this week. Former President Jimmy Carter. Everyone was posting stories about his connections to Denver, but you all had my favorite one. Can we talk about Rick's Cafe?
Jimmy Carter was a superlative ex-president. He wasn't as great a president, although certainly he's faring better now in history. But one of the things people miss is he was really our first proactive president regarding energy. And the issues with energy and how we were going to be in big trouble soon. So he actually installed solar panels on the White House, which Reagan then immediately took out. But back in 1978, when Colorado was awarded the Solar Energy Research Institute, which today is NREL, the renewable.
Which I didn't know that. That was like, whoa, okay. That's such a huge institution
deal.
here.
And it was a huge
deal. So many
deal.
Scientists, brilliant people come to work there. It's been such an important thing for our state.
And Dick Lamb really fought to get it here. And so Jimmy Carter came. to dedicate part of the series then.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to Rick's Cafe, which was a swingin' singles fern bar at the time, because in Cherry Creek, it's now Choppers. They had a solar-run dishwasher.
Uh-huh.
So he came, our managing editor, the late Sandy Widener, was there to cover it. And it was just a sweet, sweet scene of Jimmy Carter coming. Gary Hart was with him, then the state senator, and him coming and checking out this dishwasher at the swingin' single scene.
Just checking out the dishwasher, eating the avocado salad, which was a fun detail.
Exactly. And it was great that, and we talked to a lot of people afterwards, but it was great that people forget what he brought here. And Siri Enrel, big get for Denver.
A massive, massive legacy. The other one I thought was good, I think, was, Denver 7 had this, there was a story of a Denverite who went to Washington to lobby for support for funding to build a Holocaust memorial here at the Baba Yar Park, which is a nice place if you visit it, but Carter was the one who found the money for that. Guy has got a big legacy. That Jimmy Carter.
And Habitat, of course, is big here. He didn't found it, but he certainly supported it.
Yeah. There's another thing. Did you see this tweet from Matt Soper?
Yes.
The representative from Delta. He's a Republican state legislator. His response to the passing of the former president. I'll read it. We can talk about it. Soper posts, "Opened a bottle of champagne tonight. The world is rid of a despot. Thank God he finally called Carter home. The worst president in the history of the U.S. We are still recovering." All of these sentences have exclamation points on them, except for this one. No, all of them do. All of them. He destroyed the U.S. in such a way that even the fourth generation is still suffering. Patty?
Little over the top, maybe despot.
Perhaps.
I couldn't figure out what he was talking about. And he's since, of course, retracted it. But
yeah, and deleted his account.
Yes. These legislators and politicos in general should be licensed to use social media. That's a resolution for 2025.
I like that one.
Unplug them or just turn them off.
It reminded me of Stephen Woodrow, the Democrat, after the first assassination attempt on Trump.
Right.
When he was like something about blah, 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 the devil. He deleted his account too. They should do licenses for these people. Social media, a dangerous place.
Well, we all know when you can say things that goes out over the air, it's there for a long, long time, and you got to think twice if you can think at all. And I'm a little concerned that Matt may not be able to do that.
No. Well, I don't know. I think he'll be
celebrating
back,
the death of a 100-year-old man who'd only done great things with the second half of his life.
Yeah. Not a good look for Mr. Soper, who, I mean, this is a segue for something we'll talk about later, previously tweeted he was the one who called downtown Denver a toilet bowl. That was his line. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes. There's another piece of news, breaking news this morning from my inbox. I got a press release. We have to talk about this. I mean, I think this is probably the biggest story of the week. But Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser, as I predicted, announced his candidacy for the Democratic nomination for governor of Colorado in the 2026 election. So we're a little ways out here, but he's the first one to announce, I believe. What do you think, Patty?
To officially announce, but there's clearly are other candidates out there. Jenna Griswold has been positioning herself. Joe Neguse is repeatedly mentioned. I've heard some other names. Has he talked
about it? I haven't heard him talk about it.
He's been, not to the public, but certainly he's been mentioned. So I'm guessing he's still weighing it because he's got a great role in Congress now.
He does. That's the trade-off with him. I mean, he also came out on top of that poll, that Healthier Colorado poll last month, where I groused about this last month, the fact that they used only anonymous sources to pick who they were going to poll on for governor candidates, which I hated, but I still do want to talk about the results. And he was 20% of people said that he was their pick, which was by far ahead of Griswold. Phil Weiser was 8%. Ken Salazar was the other one.
Well, he's certainly been rumored to be out there. Some others are rumored. The interesting thing about that poll, which made me really wonder about it, was Griswold came out the most favorable of any of those candidates.
That is interesting, isn't it? Because that's not how people talk about her.
Well, it certainly wasn't how people were talking about her last month as we got all the password fallout.
Right. Although it seemed like Democrats were more forgiving. Like it seemed like I thought that a lot of the narrative seemed to be driven by Republicans who seemed to just have this personal animus towards her, whereas Democrats were like, it wasn't that big a deal. There was no actual security breach. It was just a mistake.
Well, it also broke right before the election. So no Democrat was going to really pile on her before the election.
That's true. That's true.
They wanted the election results to be considered solid, gold standard, as they say. Now, a lot of us would wish across the country there was a different gold standard for November's election, but that's a different issue.
What do you think about Weiser? Let's talk about Weiser. He's our attorney general. He's had some high profile, cases that he's brought against like the Real Page, the algorithm rent setters, the CBZ Management, which owns those buildings that Trende Aragua allegedly took over in Aurora. Kroger-Albertsons merger. He's part of the push to stop it.
He's been proactive. He's an interesting guy. He seems very smart, unlike, say, Matt Soper. I don't think we've ever had to delete anything from his accounts. But does he have? Would he be up? Who would he be up against? I mean, Joe Neguse is definitely charismatic. More
Neguse
so than anyone else.
Politician.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's the clear, charismatic, interesting politician out there. But Weiser would be, I think, a strong candidate.
I think so too. I think that Weiser is positioning himself to take on Polis's mantle of like saving Coloradans money, which has been so successful for him. And I haven't heard that same thing from Neguse. I mean, obviously he's been more focused on national stuff being in Congress right now. But the other stuff for Neguse I would point to like the Conservation Corps, that whole effort, the Climate Conservation Corps, trying to get some of that Biden money to rebuild that, the public works thing. I don't know.
He's done a lot of outdoor action in Congress. And you can't get around the fact that he is the son of immigrants. So that's really fascinating.
He's got a great story. But I'm with you. I think he's probably going to end up more focused on the national stuff because he's such a rising star. I don't know. Could be an interesting race. Is there anyone else you think we're going to see announced? Anyone else you've heard rumors about?
Rumors I can't spread yet.
Oh,
so
fair enough.
Because I want to find out once you get them out there, then it becomes reality. But
yeah. Well,
don't know if it is.
That's my whole gripe with this poll. Ken Salazar, I don't even know if a lot of people know who he is. Like young people like who've just moved here, he hasn't been in the spotlight for a while.
No, it's interesting because he left the Senate to go be in the cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Michael Bennet was elevated to the Senate. And people forget that back in 2010. And so Salazar has been a lot out of the limelight, but he was a good Secretary of the Interior. He did good things in the cabinet. Would he come back at this point? Would people want to elect someone who's probably 70 now?
That's the thing with him. I keep talking about this whole governor's race with a friend of the show, regular guest Deep Singh Badesha, and he was projecting like the age conversation around Biden is going to come around Salazar as well, because Salazar's in his 70s. It's a 6-year term. I don't know if Democrats are going to be going to have an appetite for that.
On the other hand, you have Colorado where people are very, very active. And we're going to talk about someone who just got a new position in his 70s.
Oh, it's such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 40% off select styles, plus a free professional measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Let's do it. Let's talk about the toilet bowl that is downtown Denver, the alleged toilet bowl, according to Mr. Soper. Our top story this week. Could this be the year downtown Denver really comes back? Mayor Mike Johnson quietly hired a very interesting person for a very interesting role, and it's really going to be up to him, it seems like, to make this happen or not. The Denver Gazette reported on Christmas Eve that, quote, urban development heavyweight Bill Mosher is the city's new chief projects officer. Patty, who is this person?
So Bill Mosher is a Denver native. He was with the Downtown Denver Partnership back in the days when they really were changing the face of Denver. Downtown Denver changed dramatically in the 80s. Even with the, bust across Colorado, but you got people going downtown. You got Larimer Square becoming a place for locals, not just tourists. You got the development of Lodo. You got baseball. downtown Denver really changed during that era. And he was the head of the downtown partnership until 99.
Yeah, that was such a huge era. I mean, of growth, of like with the way the character of Denver as people think about it, at least from outside the city, that was when it was defined, the current character.
And without
I think.
begging, like, please like us, like the Sally Field begging, you really like us. I mean, Denver was just really getting things done for people who'd moved here and wanted to get rid of, say, the good old boys and the old stuff and bring in new, exciting clubs and shops and live downtown. That was new. That all started during Mosher.
And when he was running the Downtown Denver Partnership, which is this like umbrella for business groups representing the business community of downtown.
Right, exactly. It had a lot more power, I think, then. And it's not, they weren't the only ones. People were moving downtown anyway, because that was the movement in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
People liked the urban core. They wanted to get involved in their cities.
Sure. This is after Hickenlooper and the Wynkoop Brewing Company and Lodo kind of turned around.
Exactly. And we were, by 2008, we were like one of the top creative cities. Richard, Florida pulled that. And we were where most millennials were moving. So per capita, we had more millennials moving here for like 4 years, 2008 through 2011, than in any other city. So, and that was Denver being cool, just on its own.
So
just pulling people in.
The cool maker, the architect of cool, Bill Mosher is back.
Well, I wouldn't call him the architect of cool. I think the architects of cool were the artists and the entrepreneurs who came down and really started things. But there was a very supportive atmosphere.
So what is this job, this chief projects officer? What do we know about what he's actually going to do?
Well, we're finding it out now. He's doing it under contract. This is not a man who needed to take a full-time job. Someone is leaving a full-time job in that position. But Mosher's 73. He'd had his own consulting company for the last year after leaving Trammell Crow, where he'd been almost, I think, 20 years. He doesn't have a dog in this hunt. I mean, he wants to make Denver better. I truly believe that. He doesn't need the retirement benefits. He doesn't need to suck up to anybody to get a big new job when he leaves. You know, this is his last chapter really in working for Denver, and he's just excited about it. He wasn't seeking it. Johnston reached out to him, and I think that was smart. He knows all the players.
Yeah, that is really interesting about him. Is like, because he's, I read some interviews with him this morning. I had never heard of him before this announcement. And apparently he had been approached about running for mayor a couple of times, but before Hickenlooper and then after Hickenlooper. And every time he was just like, no, I don't think like that's my role. I don't have an appetite for that public facing like part of this. I have a passion for building a downtown and creating a vibrant city. And so I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's saying all the right things. He said all the right things.
Well, and I like him personally. I ran into him last at Bill Husted's memorial service for Bill Husted. And he said it was 6 weeks ago. He had no idea this was coming down the pike. He has a tough job, but I like it that he's more independent and he really has a feel of history and the players. Yeah. Because what we've seen over time is people will trot out an idea they think is new. It's been tried before. It's not going to work. Or you see people who might very soon after trying to organize downtown go get a job with someone who is going to make money doing projects around the city. So I like it that he has a certain level of independence. Yeah,
I mean, well, that is that kind of leads me to the thing I want to talk about with this guy, Bill Mosher, is so one thing that he is going to be tasked with is spinning up this downtown development authority. This is the whole weird esoteric tax thing that some voters downtown voted on in November to like use the way that we renovated Union Station to then extend that to all of downtown to help
extended and expanded it. So it's a tried and true format. If you like Union Station. But there are going to be a lot of people with their hands out.
Yeah, but apparently, according to the Denver Business Journal, Business Den, it's going to be his first task to really get this thing running and to start divvying up the money. Because the Business Journal was like, they expect to begin taking applications for projects that use these incentives from the DDA this winter. So that's soon. That's this year we're going to see this thing take shape. And he's going to be a key player probably at the top of this.
Well, and good. Somebody needs to be on top of it who's got a vision that includes history and the future.
And then that gets me to this one piece of history that I'm sure you know very well. I didn't cover this, but the Colorado Convention Center expansion project, a $233 million project, he was at the center of this. It kind of led to this big scandal can you give me a broad overview before there's a couple of things I really want to talk about in here.
In that, I would say he became kind of the fall guy on the company on it, and he was willing to take that because he was he was captain of the ship while it was going. Yeah. And if you forgive Jenna Griswold, you can, because someone on her watch did this, you can easily forgive Mosher on this.
Okay. Well, let me give you the details then. This is what I gleaned this morning from just reviewing the coverage from the time, because it was a whole thing that played out from 2018 through 2020. The project was the city of Denver wanted to expand and renovate the Colorado Convention Center. Huge project, and Mayor Michael Hancock was all about public-private partnerships, so he had a bunch of partners in the private sector helping out. One of those partners was Trammell Crow, who had a $9 million contract to do project management for this project. And Trammell Crow was a place where Bill Mosher worked. He was
for like 20 years.
For like 20 years, yeah. His previous company was acquired by them in 2006. So Bill Mosher was like running the show on this project. Now, the scandal happened when someone from Trammell Crow started working behind the scenes with another company, a construction company called Mortensen, because they were just running the project and they needed to hire a contractor to do the actual work. So that would have been a huge, huge contract. And it's somewhere in here, this came out. I don't remember exactly how this came out, but someone from Trammell Crow started colluding, and there was a huge investigation, so we know that this happened, started colluding with the Mortensen folks to get them the city contract. And that's the kind of funny business that, taxpayers aren't going to like. So what Mosher did is he apologized once it came out. He said that Trammell Crow has fired the employee that had the improper communications, but he did not identify that person. Now, I went back and I found that. Do you remember all this?
Yes.
This was a huge deal, right? Like, people were furious about this, I think.
I would say a certain segment of people were furious, and most people pay no attention to this. But
well, that's local news.
Right, exactly.
For the people that know, though, they know their money was being, getting dealt around to the insiders and buddies, and people were having their palms greased and such. And so Mosher apologized, and he didn't identify the person involved. However, CBS reported, citing 4 anonymous sources, that person who was fired was Trammell Crow Senior Vice President of Development Management Mike Sullivan, who I then did some Googling and learned was Mosher's longtime business partner at the company that they founded together and was acquired by Trammell Crow. It was the Mosher Sullivan Development Partners, LLC.
Right.
So yep, Sullivan was the guy who was doing these double dealings, and he's this longtime partner of Mosher. Like, that gives me pause.
Well, they're not partners anymore. I mean, you have to look at that. And as I said, I would say Mosher took the gentleman ways out on that for a friend. Now,
I wonder.
You could argue.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I would say this. Look at what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Look at the fact that Mosher is head of the Convention Center Hotel Authority. So he's in a position where everyone involved in that wanted to still work with Bill Mosher. So I think you need to look at that.
Yeah, I that is good to know. I mean, I'm skeptical. As always, I'm skeptical, but I think it's going to be on us to stay on this and make sure these contracts are given out properly.
We should look at every single deal, no matter if it's Bill Mosher or anyone else handing them out, because downtown Denver needs help. There's no question. There have been some really lame ideas. The pop-ups on the mall were not going to save the mall. We need some big things. The whole nightmare concept, which I thought was a great idea. We've never seen anything more happen with that. The city really needs to get focused on what we need to do. The city needs to help on permitting for businesses downtown. I'm talking to one guy. It's taken him 10 months to get a permit for his restaurant.
I think that's a huge issue.
An awning permit, not just an awning permit, not just the other kinds of permits that people complain about. So we don't want things to be unsafe, but we don't want them to be stupid. How long should it take you to get an awning permit? A week?
Yeah, I mean, the permitting thing, that was a huge issue in the mayor's race 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago now. And it seems like Mayor Johnston, I mean, he talked about it, but we haven't seen action on that. I don't know. Maybe that'll be something he focuses on this year.
Well, now they say AI. Did you hear that? So they're going to incorporate AI in the planning department, and they think it could cut permitting down 50%.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a mess.
don't know.
There's no small business I've talked to that isn't concerned.
Same.
And then even if things are going well, you've got a restaurant that's open, they are facing real challenges.
How did you spend much time downtown over the holidays? Did you feel like it was like
I'm downtown every day. Downtown was great on New Year's Eve. I go downtown to meet people.
Mhm.
Well, we're 1 block from downtown. Technically, we're just across Broadway from it. So I think downtown, parts of it are great. Parts of it were in trouble before the pandemic, upper downtown, as they refer to it, by the pavilions and beyond, closer to the Capitol. They've got real challenges there, and they did before.
Yeah, I personally, I love it.
Union Station is great.
To go down and work there. We're typically on Thursdays, we're down at the 5280 magazine office, just like right a block off the 16th Street Mall, down near Union Station. And it's beautiful. And the feeling of like having people around, like office workers going in, it's glamorous. It's like the one part of Denver that has that feeling that I just like, you wish you had more of. That's me. I guess that's my
and that's
bias.
what we used to have a lot of in that part of town for sure. And it's coming back. But I spent time with people this weekend who had a condo in Larimer, and they said, we're selling it just because we can't stand how long it's taken for the mall to come back.
Really?
They come down from Grand Junction. They're like, we're just not really into downtown anymore. But I think it's great. And I think Larimer Square is finally also coming back. And that isn't a matter of the pandemic. That's a matter of getting tenants back in to buildings that are no longer falling down.
Yeah, it is looking nice over there. The new owners,
And
that
the mall.
Asana Partners at Larimer Square.
They've taken their time. I mean, there
they sure
certainly
have.
are some worthwhile complaints about them.
But, well, maybe they've got some new ideas. Big new initiatives or projects. I mean, we've talked about this on the show in the past. Like the mayor focused on homelessness, and then he focused on the affordable housing thing. Do you think downtown is going to be his project this year?
I think it should be his project. I mean, we have things in place to work on affordable housing, mostly done by the state. And there are city council members who've got some ideas, but I think you need to make sure the perception of downtown changes. I mean, I know I've talked about this for years, that somebody in the administration should be on social media every day saying, look what's happening downtown today.
Mm-hmm.
They need to let people know what it was really like, because you go down, I go down, but the narrative is that no one goes down. It's jammed on certain nights. New Year's Eve was great.
I'm sure it was. I heard they did another drone show New Year's Eve. I love those drone shows.
I never caught the pre-drone show. The 40 days of drone shows.
It was great.
I know. I never managed to get there at the right time.
They had the big blue bear with the Santa hat on. It was great. They should keep doing it through the stock show. That's a new Denver thing. Drone shows through the end of the stock show. How about that?
All right. We'll have to move fast on that.
Yeah, we will. All right, we're going to take another break, and then we're going to get one more topic, and then wins and fails.
Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural Fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated T for Teen.
All right, we're back. Our hot topic this week is, this is a tough story. This is a story that broke here in Colorado just before Christmas, but is now going national. I saw it on NBC. I saw The Guardian had a piece about this. But the actual core of it is that Mesa County Police have arrested a cab driver, I think maybe a pedicab driver, named Patrick Egan, who just before Christmas had some kind of a interaction with a TV reporter in Grand Junction, and followed this guy home, followed this guy back to the station. Then he assaulted this reporter, Jaron Alex, and allegedly attempted to strangle him. According to police documents that just came out that I saw, the incident started when Egan pulled up his cab alongside the TV news van and yelled at Alex, quote, "Are you even a U.S. citizen? This is Trump's America now. I'm a Marine, and I took an oath to protect this country from people like you." Patty, what do you think about this?
Well, it's appalling. It's appalling, and good that they arrested it. I believe the reporter maybe has some Pacific Islander background, but definitely from this country. definitely someone who should be reporting on the news. There was no question that he's a legitimate reporter. This story was incredible, but it does show that people seem to feel they have a license, certain people, to go after the media now.
Do you think?
I think certain people do.
Because of Trump's like antipathy towards the national media, the people who treat him poorly?
People who treat him poorly, people who report on things they don't like. Yeah, I mean, I saw it at the rally, which started out, the October rally, which started out really pleasant, and the volunteers were great and everyone was great. But after about 4 hours of standing, some people in the audience were not so happy and were yelling at the media tent. I mean, one said, watch out, you bitches, to me, plural, which
really?
I didn't quite understand. Yeah, we're coming after you next. I mean, that kind of thing. We're going to defund you, which I loved. Like, I get any government money? No.
Yeah.
But you have, and the comments, I think the comments we get online are a little nastier, not just about us, about life in general. Discourse has become less civil.
In general, you think people are like, so you're talking about the comments on articles that you have on Westword.
But then we also get really nasty comments about ourselves. Oh, I was going to bring one in, but I forgot. I'll find it for you. Yeah. But they're getting nastier, and that's partly social media in general, which is a license to be nasty. That has nothing to do with Trump.
It's all connected, though. Yeah. I think like he's kind of taken advantage of this new media ecosystem,
which was already making it easier to be nasty, and now. There's certain topics that definitely get attacked.
Yeah. As the editor of Westword, does this whole situation, the violence in this one particular case, give you any pause about sending your staff of journalists into the field?
No, I think, I go in the field too. I think everyone has always known that you've got to be careful. Look at Alan Berg. We're talking about, this is not new. Alan Berg, because of his opinions, talking into a microphone, was killed 40 years ago.
Here in Denver, 1984. I've been thinking about that story a lot lately.
So we have to remember, it is nothing new. And in other countries, it's been going on all the time.
Do you think it's getting worse?
I don't think it's getting worse. I think the level of rhetoric is higher, uglier, but I don't feel it's getting worse yet. Now let's hope this is an outlier, what happened in Mesa County. Let's hope that's not a trend.
I mean, it's so black and white. Like, I can see why that story has kind of popped out of just the local news ecosystem. Like, the fact that he said he's a Trump person, he identified himself as a Marine, like, it just calls all of the culture stuff into question around those institutions. Well, and it's the racism of this.
Hey, look what's happening in Las Vegas now with the guy, an active military person who rented the Cybertruck in Colorado Springs to go to Las Vegas. So we're going to be seeing a lot of different things. Who knows what that meant?
Have you ever personally felt at risk doing your job as a journalist?
No. I mean, if something's going to happen, something's going to happen. But the more they yell at you, the less likely they are going to do something, I think, as long as they feel that they're being heard.
Yeah. Interesting. I wonder. I mean, the feeling like they're being heard thing, like, that's an interesting point, because I feel like that's the thing that doesn't happen. That's why they're all so mad. They feel like all journalists are biased. They're not representing their perspectives. And like, I don't know. I mean, you hear some journalists talking about like bias and like objectivity now. I do think there's something there about, I mean, everyone's talking about it in different ways, using different words, but there is that divide happening where young journalists who typically are, liberal-minded people who go into this profession don't want to talk about the other side. They don't want to platform ideas they disagree with. Do you see that divide? Do you get what I'm getting at there?
I do. I don't see it here. I mean, here we are reporting. You of course come into any story with your own biases and that are generated by your own background. So you always want to bend over backwards to be sure that you talk to all the sides involved.
I don't know if I see that. I don't know if I see people
bending
over
backwards. It here.
Yeah, I see it at Westword. You all do a good job. I mean, on the cover of Westword this week, Danielle Jurinsky, Aurora City Council member, person to watch out for in 2025. Talking to her, putting her right there on the cover. So yeah, I mean, you all do a really good job of it. And we've tried really hard to do a better job. I think when we first started out with this podcast, we were, it was a little bit of an echo chamber, It's people we knew, our contacts who we knew. And I mean, we did the whole Lauren Boebert project, got really into that. And I think I want to do an even better job of it this year.
You want to get people that you disagree with. You want to talk to them. You want to get them on the air. You want to share their voices with other people, or at least their quotes in a story.
Yeah. Understand it. I mean, it's all about trying to understand what's happening in Denver. And 1 in 5 voters in this city voted for Trump. So clearly there's a big chunk of this population that's not on board with that, the mainstream or the bulk of the people. And we should understand them too.
And the other 4 out of the 5 probably disagree with each other on many, many other issues. So
that's for sure. You
can't just label, this is how the white male sitting at the microphone is going to think. This is how the white female sitting at the microphone is going to think. There are nuances to everyone's beliefs.
Something else I wanted to talk to you that's kind of related to this is the whole national, this is a little inside baseball for us, but going into the new year after the election, I have been asking people, what is your appetite for the Trump conversation? How much do you want to hear about it? Because 8 years ago, when Trump first got into office, it was eyes glued to the TVs. There was this Trump bump for MSNBC, CNN. I'm sure you all saw it at Westward too. Whenever you talked about Trump, a lot of people would be interested in those articles and click on them more. And that was good for business for us. I don't know where people are at, or where our people, our listeners, our readers, are at right now in Denver. Do they have that same appetite? How are you feeling about that?
Well, they want to know how it's going to affect them personally. And that's what we do. We don't report on a lot of national things because we want original reporting, and that's what you get from boots on the ground in Metro Denver. Yeah. So we can opine all we want, sitting at the bar or sitting in the kitchen over some national issue. But unless it affects us and we've got local sources, it's not a story we cover. So here, because of Trump's Operation Aurora threats, of course, we're going to be following that a lot. I'm concerned about what's going to happen with the environment. If you looked at Project 2025, there were a lot of issues about public lands. So we're going to keep an eye on those stories. But it's hard. Yeah, people are kind of tired about hearing about Trump if you watch the national media. But I think for us, we're going to keep on it as much as we can. The upcoming election, we've got Colorado elections that are going to be important.
Yeah.
But right now, I think people are fed up with almost every media topic.
You think?
Well, I mean, I've been watching the the New Orleans and Las Vegas stuff. It was 24/7 on New Year's Day, right after 24/7 Jimmy Carter. So I think the media, the mainstream media, the national media doesn't know what people want. They're just giving them what they have.
Yeah. That's how I feel. I don't know what people want right now. I still don't know. I just don't have a good handle on it. So please call in. Let us know what you want. Seriously, I would love your thoughts as listeners. Let us know what you're interested in when it comes to this new, Trump 2.0, this new administration, how it will affect our lives here in Denver. Call in, leave us a voicemail with your name and neighborhood, 720-500-5418. Again, 720-500-5418. You had one more thought you wanted.
I just think what we're focusing on is giving people news they need to get out and about in Denver. If it's bad, why are you paying for your trash that's not been picked up for a month? We're going to write about that. But if there's a great event going on in Denver that people need to know about, we're going to write about that too.
Well, westward.com is where to find all that good stuff.
And no hidden gems.
No hidden gems. No more hidden gems. There are no more hidden. Yeah.
We're exposing them all.
Time for the best way to end the week. Wins and fails, a.k.a. Rocky Mountain highs and lows. Patty, you want to start us off with your fail of the week?
Well, I have to go with the "It's Trump's America Now" guy going after the reporter.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. And if we see more of it, it is going to be horrifying. Close follow-up, the Colorado Republican Party, which is now threatening to sue Durango School District for protecting Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ banners as protected speech.
I hadn't seen that. That's
just come in. They haven't done it yet, but they're threatening.
Yeah, God. Who's the chair of that party right now?
Gee, could it still be Dave Williams? Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
There's that other guy who I think was.
We've got him and our people to watch too.
Oh yeah, Dave Williams.
Dave Williams.
Let's go, Brandon Williams.
Yes.
Did you give him his proper name?
Nope.
Okay.
No, we don't honor that.
Sorry, Dave. My fail this week. Murph's Condiments, a great local hot sauce maker, is shutting down this year, and I have to give that my fail because I think they make great hot sauce. Their electric lime is a great one. Hand grenade. I'll be buying these up when I see them starting now until this thing shuts down. But I thought this was such a fail. I mean, it's another one of these stories of people talking about like overhead costs growing since the pandemic and hard to do business in Denver. But this company, like, it looked like such a success story for such a long time. And then Business Den reported that they've lost 80% of their revenue since the pandemic and costs have tripled. So just what a sad story for a great local company and a rising star brand out of Denver.
Yeah. We have many Murph's fans here.
I believe it. Are you a hot sauce person?
I am.
Yeah. What's your fave?
I will just go with Tabasco or
Tabasco's
Sriracha. I can be very simple.
No local brand you want to call out?
Nope.
Patty? Okay.
Nope.
Quarantine Project is another one I like.
I do like the Steubens ones that they now have out.
Interesting.
Or is it Ace? But it's that company.
Yeah. Sauce Leopard, also another good local one. Let's do some wins. I've got a couple I want to talk about, and then I'll let you finish it off, Patty. But our past guest and a really great reporter on state politics, Marianne Goodland, wrote a really nice piece for ColoradoPolitics.com about her journey and now successful beating endometrial cancer. I'll put the link in the show notes, but she's such a great reporter, and she had a really hard year last year, and she kind of laid it out in a beautiful way, and I recommend reading this piece. Do you know Marianne, Pat?
Oh, I do.
She's great.
She's had a great couple of years, a great run, and the fact that she had this surprise diagnosis, took it on head on, continued to do her work with the Denver Press Club, and continued to do everything she's doing. It's really impressive.
Yeah, amazing reporter. She deserves an award. Okay, but my real win this week, the Denver Broncos. This weekend, they're playing the Chiefs in the last game of the regular season. The Chiefs are not playing all their starters. Hopefully the Broncos can win. They need to win to make the playoffs. They've had a kind of a rough stretch the last couple of games. But it's been such a great year, and I wanted to give them my win just because they've had such an exciting year of being competitive in basically every game, and they're totally in the mix with this rookie quarterback, Bo Nix. And I was flying home to Denver watching the most recent game against Cincinnati go to overtime. So it was a plane full of Broncos fans, and everyone was watching on the Wi-Fi, and it went to overtime, and there was all these just like electrifying plays, and it was amazing. It was just like, I loved being a part of it. Longtime listeners know I've decided to become a big football fan 2 years ago, and it's been a joy, especially this year as the team has been worth watching.
Until the very end of that game.
Yeah, well, we don't have to talk about that. Did you watch? Are you a fan?
Oh, I watched.
Yeah? How are you feeling about it? You like Bo Nix? Are you a Bo Lever, Patty?
I will say I'm neutral on this, but I'm always happy to watch and see what they say.
Mm-hmm. All right. Patty, what's your win of the week?
I would say the win of the week is that we got through New Year's Eve with the downtown fireworks, which were great. The downtown still looks great. Go see the city and county building. The incredible eccentricity of keeping it lit up like a rancid birthday cake all the way through the stock show. I love that.
It is a great tradition, and it's just so obnoxious. The light show.
The light show is garish, but I love it that we do it. I like keeping the lights on in Denver. I like the history and tradition of that it was for people who hadn't been to the big city. They're coming in from the ranches to see how great Denver looked. Mm-hmm. Let's keep Denver looking better.
My wife, one of her, a family member, like an aunt or an uncle, used to work for the city in that building. And I heard from them a few years ago and then later confirmed it, that it used to be the city employees that designed the light show, that like chose where to put which colors on the city and county building. Isn't that nice?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I wrote stories about how it started in the 30s and when that building went up and how they had that light show go. Then when they put in the LED lights, and now they can just switch it if they want to make it Breast Cancer Month or Prostate Awareness Month. And that's why you can suddenly get it all one color. But right now, it's a miraculous mess.
It's fun. Well, here we are at the end of the show. Patty, thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Here's to a great 2025 for everyone.
Hell yeah. See you next time. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were Lizzie Goldsmith, Olivia Jewell-Love, and me, Paul Caroli. Peyton Garcia writes our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocachetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. That includes YouTube, by the way, if you've never seen our account. You can also follow us on Instagram at CityCastDenver and tell Mike Sullivan about us the next time you see him. I want to know the real story about the convention center. You can sign up for our daily newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week. I'd love to know the real story about what went down.